Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Meadsy69 and welcome back to another top 5 episode. Carrying on from the previous top 5, we are now on the top 5 best performing premium tanks in the game, and of course we are only going from tier 5 to tier 10 because just the lower tier, they're just too good. So tier 5, and we have the crap coming in at number 5, and that is 59.83% win rate. This is probably the only tank on the list that I was quite surprised about. I mean, the tank is okay, it's nothing special, but it's on the list and it is number 5. So of course people have been commenting on my previous videos on this, and a lot of them, yes, I mean, you can't really, like this for instance, and one of the tanks that is in my list, only like 100 and something people have played it, where other tanks, other premium tanks, you have thousands of people playing it. But to get all this information averaged out, it'll be just too much. So I'm literally just going by win rate, and these are the top win rate tanks in the game currently. So number 4, definitely not surprised at 59.99%. It is one of the most broke tanks, most broke premium tanks in the game, and that is the WZ-121FT, the tier 8 Chinese tank destroyer. Now we know that this is broke. We all know that this is broke. Wargaming know that this is broke. That's why they only ever sell it for money. It's never come into the game so far for gold. I mean, I think they've sold it 3 or 4 times now, and it's always been for money, or it's been in like the snow globes or the lucky spins, etc. So Wargaming know it's broke, we know it's broke, and it just seals the deal with the win rate at 59.99% average over the last 90 days. So that should tell you enough to say, yeah, this tank is kind of broke. So a lot of people do good things with this tank, and it's not unbeatable. I mean, it's definitely not unbeatable, but it's a very strong tank, and everyone knows, everyone wants one, but they just don't want to pay $50 for a tier 8 tank. But the stats are there, and it is the 4th best performing tanks by win rate in World of Tanks Blitz. So that then brings us to number 3, another tank that I wasn't shocked about being, and that is the Dracula. 3rd place, 60.74% win rate. Actually, I wasn't shocked that this was on the list. I was more shocked that it's number 3. I thought it would actually be further up the line. But when I see the other 2 tanks up the line, I thought, you know what, 3's actually a decent position for this tank. The Hellsin's not in the list. Believe it or not, the Hellsin isn't on the list. People think that the Hellsin is more OP than the Drac. Whereas now the win rate proves it's not. The win rate proves it's not. However, if you start going by all different stats, staying alive, survival based, and average damage, then yes, these might not all be in the list. But going by win rate alone, people win more in this tank than they do the Hellsin. So that is the Drac at number 3. Coming in at number 2, I 100% is not surprised. It is the Smasher. 61.15% over the last 90 days. People are winning in this tank. It's the most broke tank game. Most broke tank game. It is the most broke tank in the entire game. I've already done many videos on this tank saying that it's the most broke, and it still remains the most broke. I don't think that's ever going to change. Believe it or not, I don't actually think Wargaming will ever sell this again. I think it will be like a Keniotsu, where they shouldn't have sold it, but they did. I reckon this is going to be another one of this, because Wargaming know that this is broke. They must know that this is broke. The stats are there. It's the 2nd top performing tank in the entire game. And if they knew it was so good, I don't think they'll sell it outright, sell it even for money or for gold, because if they sell it for gold, it'll break. It will just break the tiers, because everyone's going to want to buy this because they know just how broke the tank is. So I don't think they'll sell it for gold. Maybe they'll sell it for money. I don't know. But the reason why I'm saying that I believe that Wargaming won't ever sell this tank again is because they didn't even put it in like a snow globe. You wasn't even able to win this in a snow globe where Wargaming put all the decent tanks, all the tanks that everybody wants, like the WZ 120. I mean, they know that's broke, but it's not like massively broke to never be sold again. But this, however, I honestly think that this will never be sold again. I'm hoping it will never be sold, not just because I own it, but just, can you imagine your poor little chaffies in tier 6 when, if this gets put for sale for gold, it will just destroy the tiers. Now, this is basically a KV2 in tier 7, but just with much better stats. The AP on this thing is nothing special, and that's probably the only poor thing about the tank is the AP pen. The AP pen is just really, really poor, and it is poor. But I don't mind that, because the heat pen is just something special. The heat pen should never be as much as it is, and I mean 200 plus. The heat pen on this is more than nearly every single tier 8 heavy, and this is a tier 7. So you're going to use more heat than AP. You shouldn't. For me personally, I don't even use much AP at all, because even if you're top tier against tier 6, there's going to be a lot of tanks you can HE. So AP wise, you're not going to use a lot. AP wise, you're not going to use a lot, and you shouldn't, because it is poor. It is really poor, and you're going to bounce a lot of shots. So me personally, I would use just heat and HE. Heat, you're still doing over 500 damage per shot, so why not? It's a premium tank, might as well use the heat. You're not losing that much damage. The accuracy on this thing is crazy stupid as well for a KV2-ish. I mean, watch this shot. On the move, set on fire, 1000 damage, done. See you later, AMX. And this is just what's broke. The reload, everything is broke about this tank. The reload is like, what's this, what, 14, 15, 13.6 seconds with adrenaline. The KV2 is like, what, 20 odd seconds. It's crazy. 13.6 with adrenaline, and it goes up to, what, 14, 15 seconds. So if this was me, I mean, Wargaming doesn't want to nerf it. Even though it's a collectible, Wargaming doesn't want to nerf it. And I've already told Wargaming, like, to be honest, I wouldn't even mind. I don't want it nerfed because I own the tank, but I wouldn't mind if it is nerfed, because it's just too damn broke. It is too damn broke. How would I nerf it? I would, if they want to keep the heat pen, then keep the heat pen. But I would definitely give it the same accuracy as the KV2 and the same reload as the KV2. Then it won't be half as broke. It won't be half as broke. Maybe even a little bit less heat pen. You can nerf this in so many different ways. And it should be nerfed, but they're not nerfing it, and maybe that's what's making me think that they're not going to bring this tank, because they don't want to nerf it, and they're just going to turn around and say, you know, we're just never going to sell it again. There's not enough out there to break the game, just like the Keniotsu. The only reason they've never nerfed the Keniotsu is because not many people own the tank, so it doesn't affect the tiers, and it doesn't really affect the game, because, I mean, if you play tier 3, over the course of 100 battles in tier 3, you're only going to come across a couple of Keniotsus. So that is number 2. Number 1 is the KV220, 66.62% win rate. Now, if they was to sell this tank across all tiers or all servers, I mean, they don't sell it on the NA server for some reason. I don't think it would have as much win rate. At the moment, it's only a couple of servers that are playing this tank, but it's a tier 5 tank, and it's extremely powerful. The armor is extremely powerful. It's the pen is not great, the penetration isn't great, but people are doing really well, and when you're top tier in this, you will win games. And as we can see by the global win rate, it's the highest win rate tank in the entire game. And I think it's actually, I can't remember what the tech tree tanks, but I think it's more than the tech tree tanks. So this is literally not including tiers below this, because there are some tanks that are nearly 70% global win rate, and that's because seal clubbers. That's mainly because of seal clubbers just go down to farm their win rate up, and that makes the average win rate on the tank much higher. So that is why I haven't included the lower tier tanks. Now, this isn't impenetrable. I mean, people can still penetrate you, which you're going to see now. The best way to get around that is to really angle your tank. If you own this tank and you can't really, and you're not really doing well, look at this KV-220 on the enemy team. That's the kind of angle you want to be at. That is the kind of angle you want to be at. Over angle. I mean, over angle, and then your sides become so strong. Your bottom plate and your front plate becomes really strong. So do try and not directly face people, because they will just switch to Pramo and they will just penetrate you. So you need to over angle, just like we are now against this ELC. That's the kind of angles, and I'm actually angled against the YT34 and the ELC, and that's what you want to be. If I was to face the T34, then he can just shoot me with Pramo, no problem, and he's going to pen me. And as you can see, I'm only on 379 HP, so we are getting penned. We're getting penned, and it's not too difficult, to deal with when it's a player that doesn't really know how to play it, because you just switch to Pramo, then you can penetrate it all day long. So this battle, I mean, we don't do nothing special this battle. We do what, just over 1,000 damage. It's nothing really, but you do struggle, believe it or not. Even though people are winning on this tank, I'm not actually sure what the average damage is. I should have actually looked at the average damage, because the average damage is actually not that high. The penetration on the tank really does suck. It's literally the only good thing is the armor, but it's number one, and there we have it. So coming up in a few days, we will have the worst performing premium tanks in the entire game. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm Meadsy69, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye.